Welcome to ALTA Insights. I'm Jeremy Yohe, ALTA's Vice President of Communications. And joining us is ALTA CEO Chris Morton. We're going to talk about the association, the industry, priorities, some of the great resources ALTA has developed, and then we'll spend a few minutes getting to know Chris on a more personal level. Chris, thanks for taking some time to talk with our members today. Let's get into the questions. You joined ALTA in 2020 during COVID, and I don't think you and I met in person for maybe nearly a year. But over the past 5 years, you led ALTA's policy development, political engagement, and lobbying strategy. Now you're leading the association. So could you share, some of your top priorities for engaging with ALTA's diverse membership?
It's a real honor to be leading this organization at this time. I think it's an exciting time. There's a lot of opportunity in front of us. And as I think about that opportunity, we continue to be here to support our members in education and training, in advocacy, obviously, best practices, networking, providing you with all of the things that help you grow your business and be the experts that you are. So, we're really focused on making sure that we're hitting the mark on that. And we need to do that in partnership with you as members. So I'm excited about that opportunity and excited about the team that we have working collaboratively with our members. I think advocacy obviously is sort of where I come from. And that's going to be a critical leading role that we always play in terms of educating our members about how to be better advocates, but also making sure that policymakers understand the critical value of not only title insurance as a product, but also all of the services and the expertise that title professionals bring to every real estate transaction to make sure that the integrity of that transaction is upheld. So we're working to, elevate the stories of our members, to continue to drive examples of how title insurance and how title professionals really serve to protect property rights. And we need our members to be engaged in that process. And I'm excited to think new about different new opportunities that might arise in that process. Every day, our members are sort of an integral part of their communities, and they do, more than just the business that they conduct on, the streets of their communities. They're involved with nonprofits. They're doing a number of things that make a real difference because that's the essence and the core of what the title industry is all about.
ALTA has a diverse membership base, from the small agents that operate in one county to the large companies that operate nationally and the many vendors that support them along the way. But could you talk a little bit about the importance of the local title agent and how they are vital to the process? How do you plan to make sure these smaller agencies continue to have a voice within ALTA's policymaking and advocacy efforts?
Well, that's a great question. And I'll start with, look, the expertise that they provide is absolutely essential. Expertise about the local real estate market, sort of custom and practice and law and all of those things, I think first and foremost. I think, the other thing is that, our industry is 90+% small businesses. This is an industry of Main Street USA. And I think that message, continues to be not only critical and important for us to communicate, but for our members to be sort of proud of and always talking about. It's the fabric of the real estate marketplace and the communities that they live and serve. And so we're going to do all that we can to continue to elevate the consciousness around that. The more of our members who we can get involved in raising their voice, not just sort of on the technical side, but in the policy process and the political process. Not everybody is attracted, particularly, given some of the noise that is in politics, to that, but it's really about education. And the more we raise our voice and the more our members engage in TAN, and send messages to members of Congress or their state legislators about the value of what they do, the better we're going to be off as an industry.
What are some of the specific things maybe you're excited about for the industry right now?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I'm excited about our members, and what they bring every day. They're enthusiastic, they have ideas, they're creative, they're innovative. And one of the things that we're going to do more of is talk about that real creativity and innovation in the industry, which is really inherent. Clearly we have a market, from where rates are and where housing supply is and regulatory sort of burdens to development. Those are all challenges, right? And we'll get through those as we always have in various real estate cycles. But the way we get through that is by thinking differently and doing things differently that help sort of navigate some of those challenges. And so I say this, really clearly, which is our industry has always been about innovation. You mentioned COVID at the outset, in terms of when I started at ALTA. And let's just think about what the industry did during COVID. And innovation doesn't always have to be about technology. I'll start there. We were closing transactions across the hoods of cars, through windows, making it work. And not only making the real estate market work, but because of the real estate market working at that time, the American economy stayed strong. That was the result of title professionals doing their diligence, and being as creative and innovative as possible. The technology side, obviously, we took remote online notarization as a concept in a handful of states to almost all 50 states nationwide through policy leadership, political engagement, education, all of those things. And so that's just a really, I think, vivid example of the creativity and innovation in our industry. And, over the last several years, whether it's on the agent side or certainly on the underwriter side, hundreds of millions of dollars this industry has invested in technology. We've been working through the utilization now of artificial intelligence in ways that improve processes, speed up efficiency and transactional time and all of those things. And that's just going to continue to accelerate. And I think we're going to be here to help our members really think about how they can best take advantage of those things while spending their valuable time and their expertise on really that problem solving that I said.
All right, let's turn to a few topics impacting the industry here in the near term. In December, you're talking about how the industry, adapts. We're going to have a new regulatory rule in place, FinCEN's anti-money laundering rule for real estate transactions. It goes into effect in December. Can you share a few of the things ALTA is doing to help members prepare for the reporting requirements?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a big one, obviously. And we're not just educating and preparing, but we're also continuing to advocate. Let me start there. On the education and preparation part, we've done a boot camp this summer to provide tools and training about how to comply, and really talk specifically about all of the kind of the implications and steps necessary to make sure that you're doing right by the rule in your business. We have long been communicating with FinCEN and with the agencies to make sure that they understand the burden, honestly, that this is going to be on a number of fronts, both cost and time, which is money, as we know. And so, FinCEN's own estimates say that this is going to affect potentially up to 850,000 transactions a year. It's going to cost potentially up to $500 million in that first year alone, and on an ongoing basis. So we're working really hard to make sure we can find ways to not only share the examples of what that means with FinCEN, but also continue to advocate to narrow the scope of the burden associated with this on the industry. Again, because of that fact that we are predominantly small businesses, we are trying to do the right thing by our customers, but the burden, is not light.
Chris, let's turn to another topic. ALTA has long been advocating that title insurance is the best protection for property rights. Can you share a little bit of what the latest ALTA members should know about this regulatory environment?
Our members are always about, and we have always said as an association, that we want to meet the needs of the marketplace. We want to make sure that we're serving our customers appropriately. We support innovation and all of the things that entails. However, as you point out, we also are very much in the position where we want to make sure that we are minimizing risk and we're protecting consumers, we're protecting lenders and parties to the transaction. And that means, from our perspective, as we sit here today, that title insurance is the best solution to do that. And so we will always be in that position. And as we think about loans that are made or loans that are purchased on the secondary market, we believe that all of those loans should be covered by a title insurance policy provided by a state regulated title insurance company, with agents playing a critical role in that transaction, as I described, in terms of their expertise and problem solving, to make sure that clear title is being provided. So we're going to have the work to continue to educate people about why that is. We're going to continue to work with policymakers, both at the federal level as well as at the state level, to engage them in this conversation and to make sure that they have the facts as we see them from our side, alongside our members.
Early in the conversation, you talked about the need for more people to get involved, and this is essentially why. We need the title companies on Main Street to tell the regulators and legislators how this impacts their business. Without that connection, it's all to kind of telling to them. They need to hear from the business people. They need to hear from people back home, right?
Yeah, and that's the great thing about our members, is they tell that story not only with the expertise, but with the real acknowledgement of the need to serve consumers at the end of the day in the right way. And I think that's the thing that I have a lot of pride about, sitting in this role and working for this organization and with teammates like you, Jeremy, which is, I know at the end of the day that our members are out there doing the right thing in the right way. And I think that's the thing that regulators and policymakers need to ultimately understand, because those are the kinds of people you want leading the charge in the marketplace, the ones that know how to serve customers and consumers, the ones that know how to comply effectively with regulatory processes, the ones that are having the best interests of the consumer at heart at the end of the day. And it is eminently clear that our members are the ones who not only do that, but strive every day to think about how can we do it better.
Yeah, we touched on technology, and we can't ignore it. We've embraced it. We were utilizing it, but it's evolving quickly. And there's this constant push for more digitization, automation, AI. Can you talk about some of the ways the industry is leading in the tech space?
There was I think a survey that was recently done that showed that 90% of title professionals are already using some form of AI, right? And I mentioned streamlining routine processes, document review, fraud detection, risk analysis, like all of those things, are happening today. And I would also say, here's the other thing. Title decision engines have been around for a while. We were the ones who drove the adoption, the creation, sort of the implementation and integration of title decision engines. And what those decision engines do at underwriters is they speed up the process of the search, and they get to a place where you can then identify and work on the most difficult problems, right? But they don't they don't do what many claim, which is solve the problems. That's where the title expertise of that title professional comes in, and the work really starts. And so I think, we are responsibly looking at AI. We're responsibly looking at, the integration of more and more technology in a way, again, that helps us get to solving problems, but ultimately doesn't increase risk associated with the transaction. The reason property rights in the United States of America are so strong is because we're doing it the right way by people. If we all of a sudden decide, well, you know what, there's not really any problems, but we're going to go ahead and change it all up, well, I will say good luck, because that's when you start having real issues. And I think you've got to be really careful about that. And I think our members are not only careful, but they're thoughtful about how they go about that. And I'm really positive about what the future holds in that regard.
Yeah, the industry has embraced technology for not years. I would actually say decades.
Yeah.
You could go back several years. I write TitleNews, and I can't remember how many years ago, the headline, the cover article was "iAgent, the future of the industry," and it talked about some of the tech that the industry was embracing then. And I got an interesting email just yesterday from one of our members, submitted an article, and the title of it was AI, not artificial intelligence, agent intelligence. And
No, I love that.
I loved it too. And it touches on that you still need that expertise. Once you have the search, you still have to examine it and analyze it and deduce what the risks are to the transaction and cure them.
If that's not copyrighted, we should find that. We should find that. I love it.
Yes, yes. All right, let's turn to another issue that has been impacting the industry for some time: fraud, and specifically seller impersonation. Would you mind, Chris, touching on a few things ALTA is doing alongside its members to lead in helping prevent and protect consumers from seller impersonation fraud?
Yeah, and I appreciate you raising this. I mean, clearly this is one of the biggest sort of challenges, as well as, there's opportunity always in a challenge. But we've been leading as an industry, I think, for a lot of years, whether, it was all the work we've been doing on wire fraud. Now this new iteration of seller impersonation fraud has reared its head. And the reality is, particularly we talked about AI, it will be harder and harder, and we have to stay as much ahead of the curve as we can to tackle some of these fraud challenges, because the criminals, and I will say that criminals, are sophisticated, and we know that, and they're always looking for new opportunity to go after title agencies, to go after consumers. So, I think one of the things that's really exciting here at ALTA is, we've just developed some new policy forms, endorsements that really specifically speak to the issue of seller impersonation fraud, post-policy coverage for that, to make sure that we are doing the right thing, by the customer, by the consumer at the end of the day. And that was, again, the initiative, the creativity of the Forms Committee, those experts who work with us at ALTA, to really think about, this is a new challenge. How do we best protect people? And so those forms are, coming out into the marketplace, the endorsements, I should say. And it's going to give homeowners and home buyers choices. And again, we're all about consumer choice and opportunity. And so, that's really exciting. And the endorsements will include this critical protection of the duty to defend, to make sure that legal costs and all of that are things that are covered in that endorsement. The other thing, though, is not just on policy forms and innovation in that space, but innovation, has taken place over a number of years in the best practices framework that we work on to promote with our members and across the industry, and fraud prevention has to begin, even before documents are recorded. So we're updating our best practices framework to raise the bar for identity verification and closing security across the industry. And so, it's both before pre-transaction, post-transaction. The homeowner's policy of title insurance, was an innovation back, I think, in 1998 that came out and had for the first time that post-policy coverage. This is just, these steps are more tools, more protection to address the evolution of fraud and criminal behavior. And it represents what this industry is about, really looking forward and looking around the corner to do the right thing.
Chris, we touched on a lot of issues. As I noted in the beginning, I want to wrap up with a few personal questions so
Sure.
members can learn a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
We were talking, last week or so, and you mentioned a little bit of your upbringing growing up in Chicago, and you've been in DC for some time now.
Yeah.
But would you share a little bit of that passion for politics and advocacy and where you got that from?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so yeah, I did grow up in Chicago, very active, sort of city, neighborhood involvement was a big thing when I was a kid. And so, seeing it on the local level, as, the phrase goes, all politics is local. And so I was engaged, at a young age in sort of in the political process, the policy process, and it intrigued me. And I thought, what better place to do that than DC? I was a political science major in college, and I figured I might as well practice what I preach, and learn. And so moved to DC, and sort of the rest is history. But it's been a great city. Learned a lot. Met my wife here, who's from Indiana. So a couple of Midwesterners who meet in DC, go figure. But it's been fun, and I'm really looking forward to continuing down the road with this new opportunity, a new role to work with our members to elevate their voice here. So.
And we're excited to work with you, Chris. So it's definitely going to be exciting times for ALTA and our members and the industry. What's life like in the Morton household? Are you and your wife and daughters talking about politics?
Well, both of my daughters have decided to stay as far away from that whole arena as possible. Smart of them, right? Well, it's interesting, Jeremy, you say that because I know you've got daughters. I've got a couple of daughters as well. Mine are a little older. One is out of the house and now teaching middle school science. The other one is, off to college. So it's exciting. So my wife and I are, figuring out what does the world look like on this new iteration. But we're really proud of them, and we're proud of who they've grown into as young women. And and I tell them all the time, I work and represent an industry that is really driven by the leadership of women, and 70% of our industry is female. And so, just to look at them and think about the role that I have now and the opportunity, it's sort of a nice set of bookends here.
Yeah, definitely. But both of my daughters are both in our high school, but they are actually intrigued as well that the industry is 70% women. Now, they don't want to get into specifics of what title insurance is all about, but
Yeah,
they're like,
right. Yeah, that or politics. So it's good for them, right? They forge their own path.
people who know you, Chris, know that you are an avid golfer. I've played with you a couple of times. You definitely have a routine. You have your routine for every shot, and yes, much better golfer than I am. But you may not be playing as much these days. But if you do get out, what's your favorite club to hit?
Yeah, well, first of all, you're kind. I mean, I play golf. I don't know if I'm a golfer, but I guess we all say that at some level. I like to hit the club that goes the straightest at the end of the day. But I'm always interested in sort of challenges in the course, and I mean, I think wedge play is always fun, and I try to kind of master that part of things. Sometimes better than others, but the nice thing about a sport like that, I think, is we get out there and we get a chance to spend time with the people we care about and the people we want to develop relationships with, and be outside in beautiful places, and and really just experience what life's really all about. And I think that's the best part of the game of golf.
So is golf maybe a little bit of a metaphor of our work life? Each hole is different, and course management is kind of the name of the game.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, there's a lot to be said for that.
All right, Chris, you grew up in Chicago. Have to ask the question: Cubs or White Sox?
There's only one team, Jeremy. Go Cubs.
Go Cubs. That kind of wraps up the Q&A today. Chris, thank you for your time and sharing your thoughts on the many issues impacting title and settlement companies, as well as the opportunities for the industry.